are back. Welcome to the month of June. Welcome to another week of Behind the Lens. I'm Debbie Lynn Elias, a film critic, multiple print and online publications around the world in the U.S. and abroad. But every Monday you can find me right here on Adrenaline Radio from 11 to 12. And as a reminder to everybody, after we go off the air at noon Pacific time, the show is also available for rebroadcast on the Adrenaline Radio archive. By the afternoon, it is available on my website, moviesharkdeblore.com, and by Tuesday morning on iTunes. We are on iTunes. And typically, this week we are forgoing video, but normally we also do shoot two-camera video with a full edit, which is then available on YouTube, my site, and various other sites. Today we're forgoing video because I had a bad cat who stuck his claw in my eye and ripped my lower eyelid. So my eye is not a pretty sight right now. Not that it is any other time, but today it's particularly bad. So we're forgoing cameras today. But we will have cameras back next week. And today, D-Day, of course, honoring our men and women in arms and during World War II. Very 73-year anniversary. Not an anniversary that the kind we like to celebrate, but it is one that deserves to be acknowledged and all the servicemen and women remembered. So today's show have some fabulous guests. We've got two returning guests, and we have one definite new guest. We have a possible other new guest. In a few minutes, about 15 minutes, Ned Ehrbar is with us again to talk about his wonderful short film, Bunker. He has some distribution news for us on that. Half-hour mark, writer-director Michael Wechsler is back with us to talk about Altered Minds. He's got distribution news for us. And possibly one of his lead actors, Ryan Onan, will be calling in as well, depending on his schedule. You may recall that Michael was with us a few months ago, beginning of February, talking about Altered Minds. And at the same time, several of his other cast members have been with us, Joseph Lyle Taylor and Jamie Ray Newman. So it's always fun to talk to Michael. So looking forward to that. And then at the 45-minute mark, we have a first-time feature writer, director, filmmaker, Desmond Devenish, with a film called Misfortune. Has its world premiere this week at Dances with Films on June 10th. And it is a fascinating film. I had a chance to watch it. It's a thriller. It's a cat and mouse chase. And it's got diamonds in it. So I'm in. So a lot of good stuff. In the meantime, as most of you may know, in the LA area, we are in the midst of Los Angeles Film Festival. It kicked off with a bang on Wednesday night on Sunset Boulevard at the Cinerama Dome. And we actually had, with the film, lowriders, and there was actually a parade of lowriders that came by on Sunset as part of the world premiere. So that was interesting. Anybody that wants to see any of the footage of that and the videos of all of my red carpet interviews, it's all of it's available on YouTube, Elias Entertainment, Movie Shark DeBlore, or on my website, moviesharkdeblore.com. A lot of wonderful, wonderful films are coming out of LA Film Festival this year. As I had mentioned last week, rather than mine all of the other film festivals around the country has been so often the case for LAFF, they really went out looking for a lot of world premieres, new filmmakers that are debuting in beautiful downtown Culver City this week. So, and some of those films, let me just talk about some of those films. Is that okay, Brian, or should we do the Star Wars countdown? Oh, I have permission from Brian. He's holding off, keeping you in suspense on the Star Wars countdown. And which, by the way, I want to say a big welcome to some new listeners that I know we have today. Some of the cast and crew from one of these great LA Film Festival films, a wonderful horror film that I'm going to talk about, Beyond the Gates. So, Hi, guys. You're going to get your Star Wars countdown in just a little bit. But let's talk about some of the films that are at LAFF with these world premieres. So, and why not? Why not start with Beyond the Gates? A fascinating. It's creative. It's clever. It's inventive, and it is in the Nightfall. It is in the Nightfall section. It is in competition. Premise of the film is a deserted video store, two estranged brothers, a missing father, thousands of videotapes, and I'm not underestimating, thousands of videotapes, a locked office, an interactive VHS board game where the video game goes hand in hand with the VHS. The board game goes hand in hand with the VHS tape. And horror icon Barbara Crampton, who is the game show mistress, shall we say. Jackson Stewart wrote and directed this, and Steve Scarlatta co-wrote it. Just very inventive and creative. These two brothers, Gordon and John. An amazing cast, one of whom, Chase Williamson, who really finally gets to step up in the role of John. You may remember seeing Chase in films like John Dies at the End. He was also in The Guest a couple years ago. But he finally gets to come into leading man status here in Beyond the Gates. It is visually, it is extremely well done. It taps into all of the what you would expect in vintage horror. But then you have the performances, but the scene stealer is really Barbara Crampton, who we only see in black and white via a television screen from the VHS tape being watched. And we play the game, and the game is Beyond the Gates, and you will go beyond the gates. So that's a real winner. Yeah, there's still another screening at LA Film Festival tonight, as a matter of fact. Another one of my top 3 must-see picks at LA Film Festival this year is Bloodstripe. There have been too few films over the past decade that address what is now an all too frequent condition with our returning soldiers from the Middle East, post-traumatic stress disorder. Rick Waugh, a couple years ago, did a powerhouse documentary, That Which I Love Destroys Me, with 2 soldiers that bravely came forth and told about their journeys and how PTSD does affect soldiers, and what everybody believes to be, well, you're back, jump into a normal life. What you and I know as normal is not what these returning soldiers know as normal. That trash bag being carried out to the street, to them it could be an IED of some sort. You know, the dark shadow behind the garage is not just a tree limb. It could be a person with a gun aimed at you. That documentary showed us a lot. But now, thanks to Kate Nolan and Remy Auberjonois, son of Renee, these two, they have co-written Bloodstripe. Kate stars in it, Remy directs it, and we go beyond even the issue of PTSD. This is told from the point of view of a female soldier. In this case, Kate plays a Marine sergeant. It is her performance, it is nothing short of tour de force. Remy's direction is absolutely flawless. And the cinematography is... there are no words for the beauty. You could pick almost any shot in the film, and it's a money shot. Absolutely gorgeous. So that one is still playing. That actually, there's another performance tomorrow night, which, if there are tickets available, I can't encourage you enough to check out Bloodstripe at LA Film Festival. Then, of course, we have Ned calling in. Oh, he's such a good boy. I guess we're going to go to Ned. My beloved Ned Ehrbar. Hello, my darling.
Hello, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
Why are you laughing?
I don't know. Just seems like the right response.
Fine. Be that way. You know, you can't even see me making faces this week because I'm not doing video this week.
No, but I can imagine them.
Well, it's hard to make faces today, actually, because, Clark cat clawed my eye. So,
Oh boy.
yeah, ripped the entire lower lid.
Yikes.
And, of course, it's the cat named Clark.
Of course. The
And,
spirit is alive and well.
And, of course, only you will understand that reference. But we are here to talk about this wonderful little film called Bunker.
Ah, yes, the Bunker.
Yeah,
Bunker.
What's going on with Bunker? Tell everybody, for those that have short-term memory and can't remember the last time you were here talking about Bunker, fill everybody in on what Bunker is.
Well, Bunker was or still is, a sci-fi rom-com short film that we made.
It didn't change sitting in the box or anything?
Is what?
It didn't change while it's been sitting around in a box or something?
No, it has not been re-edited or, pre-shot. It's been available for a little bit now on iTunes and for purchasing or renting and whatnot. And apparently you can rent it on YouTube, which I didn't know was a thing, but there you go. But this Saturday, the little film that could is finally making its debut on DirecTV.
Yay!
So we're very excited about that.
And it is what, part of the HD Shorts program?
Yes, the Shorts HD, I think is the channel. I think it's an on-demand sort of thing, or I don't have DirecTV, so I don't know how this really works. But
I don't have it either, so I don't know how it works. Brian, do you have DirecTV? Brian has DirecTV. Do you know how this works? He doesn't know how it works, and he has DirecTV. Okay, yeah, we are a wealth of information here today, people.
Yes,
we know
I'm a great pitchman, obviously.
We know it's on DirecTV this Saturday.
Yes, it will become available Saturday, June 11th for DirecTV subscribers, and I hope they enjoy it.
Well, now tell everybody give some more detail about Bunker, and don't leave out my favorite part of the film.
Would that be the dog?
Yes.
The dog, yes. Most importantly, there's a German Shepherd in the movie named Jack, who turns out to be a very capable young furry actor. He is not here right this moment, but if he was, he would whine at me.
Well, I'm very sad we can't have Jack as a guest on the show.
Sorry, he's off at the spa today.
Oh my God. Okay, now see, that should tell everybody, please, you really need to go on demand and pay to see Bunker so that Jack can keep going to the doggy spa.
Yes, it's very vitally important. It's a fun little film. We decided to make that. Basically, it's set during the robot apocalypse, naturally, and it's about a group of survivors in a bunker. And despite calamity and catastrophe outside, one of them can't help sort of wandering into a rom-com.
Mm-hmm.
And then we just get to mash up those genres and have a lot of fun with that.
So now, I'm sure people are wondering, robot apocalypse and all. But for those that haven't seen this yet, the cinematography is outstanding. The location that you found, talk about the location, because the location is so cool in this film.
Oh, we got super lucky. Everyone who worked on this film was like absolute pro. I had the best crew, and it was some of the most fun shooting I've ever done. And just and we had a production design team. It was Katie Moist and Adam Levermore who built, and Frank. I can't forget Frank, our art director. He's a pal. They built this interior of this bunker from scratch. We just holed up in a little fun party space in Echo Park and basically turned it into a soundstage. And if you watch them film, when you're inside the bunker, it's the only one wall in that is actually real, and the rest are all just plywood. But that's the magic of movie making.
No, but
and they did it all for no money because I was a cheap person.
Yes, and so was your executive producer.
Yes, we made this for very little money. And then for the exteriors, we got super lucky. My producer Coco Quinn and I found this decommissioned army base in San Pedro that's also a museum called Fort MacArthur, where they have these two giant, this battery where they had these two giant guns that would sort of defend the Pacific coast way back in the early 20th century. And it's just full of these giant sort of concrete dugouts and huge doors. And we're like, we just need something that looks like a door to a bunker. And ended up getting this whole giant playground to work with. And we got to spend the day out there, and it was just an amazing shooting experience.
Well, you've shot other films as well. Have you had the same kind of luck with finding a location as perfect as this one on Bunker?
That one was pretty special. I just completed shooting a feature film called The California No, which was all written specifically to locations that I knew I could get ahead of time, which were mostly people's houses. And there is, while this is getting ahead of myself, but there is a great home in Malibu Canyon that we got to spend a weekend shooting at that I can't wait for people to see.
Is that the one you sent me pictures of?
Yeah.
Oh my.
Not a bad way to live.
Not a bad way to live.
Even for a weekend.
Even for a weekend, and I haven't seen the finished version of California No yet.
No one has.
Well, and that's because LA Film Festival did not take it into the festival.
Well, and also we're not done with it, so we decided to go back in and do some more work on it.
Well, I still think that, LA Film Festival missed the boat by not taking a film of yours.
Wow.
That's
no comment.
I make enough comments for both of us. But
but no, it's gonna be fun once it's all polished up and finished, and people will get to see it.
Now, are you shopping that anywhere? Are you shopping the California No anywhere else to other festivals yet? Or are you waiting?
Yeah, well, no, it's we're gonna wait until it's really done.
Mm-hmm.
We have some ideas and some a wish list, but that's all way out ahead.
Mm-hmm. So now,
but
yes.
But now we have Bunker.
Yes.
So people can watch that.
Yes. And how long will Bunker be running on DirecTV?
That is up to them. I know they rotate out their shorts, but it will become available and sort of be up there at least for a few months. I don't know. But
okay.
You can always buy it on iTunes anytime you want for $2.99.
That's all?
That's all.
No, I'm serious. I've never bought anything on iTunes, so.
Yeah, you can purchase the HD copy of the short film for $2.99.
Oh my goodness! And Brian's sitting here at his computer in the booth. He's probably looking this up right now because he does things like that.
Just to double checking me.
But now that you've got your feature done, under your belt, essentially. You've got several shorts out there. I know you've been on the show talking about Bitter before. Molly's been on talking about Bitter before and Fun Size Horror.
Well, did two volumes of Fun Size Horror.
Yeah, but you didn't come on to talk about the second one. She did.
No, I was a little busy with California No, actually.
Yes. And so that one can be found too. So why don't you talk a little about that one too, so everybody can get a full complement of your work to go look for it.
Let's see. Yeah, you can find the Fun Size Horror volumes 1 and 2. I know are available on Hulu Plus, and I know volume 1 is for sale at various online places like iTunes and Amazon. And it's not just me. It's an anthology of some really fantastic directors doing some really fun short form work in the horror genre. Mine are less horror and more comedy, and because I can't really take anything too seriously, apparently.
But you do horror comedy so well.
Well, it's that's because I like making fun of things.
Well, but you translate that into your visual grammar. You translate that personality and those conceptual ideas into perfect visual grammar. If you sucked, I would tell you.
Sure.
Yes. So what's the second one called?
The second one was called Playing Dead, which is a delightful, brief little short that was written by Stephanie Coe, and then I got to she let me take a crack at bringing it to life with an amazing cast that I was but some like Paul Telfer, who is of course in everything I do, and who's in Bunker, but also Tracy Toms, Kevin Daniels, Jake Varda, and Adi Shankar, and just we put together this fun little team. And I don't want to give away too much about what happens in it or what it's about, but they're a fun group to spend a few minutes with.
So now that was the first thing that you've done where somebody else wrote the script, wasn't it?
Yes, that would be.
What was that learning curve like for you? Because I know when you were doing Bunker, when you were doing Bitter, you've got the visuals already in your head as you're writing.
Well, I mean, I got to work with Stephanie on rewriting the script, but it was her idea, and that we jumped off of. And it was kind of, I like the experience of somebody else who's inspired coming up with something, and I get to say, oh yeah, I can. Yeah, once we agree on what it looks like, I can do what I think is the easier part of just taking that script and sort of making it a thing. But I have to say, like it appealed to my natural laziness.
Oh, good heavens! He's not really, people. He's not lazy. He just likes to let you think he's lazy. He's actually.
You'd be surprised.
Well, you know, Ned. I try and salvage you. I try and build you up, and there you go. You just rip it apart.
Force of habit.
So what else? What else do you have going on your plate right now?
Oh boy. Well, we're going to do some more work on the California No, and then I'm just writing as much as I can. And trying to figure out what else to do to get myself behind a camera.
So no other new scripts done right now?
Nothing done. Well, no, we've got two scripts that we're out shopping for financing, but that's sort of the long form, super fun behind the scenes part of the game.
Mm-hmm. Features?
Features, yeah, 2 more features. One waiting to hopefully we'll be able to find some quick money for and get up off the ground soon. You're not supposed to talk too much about them, I guess. But.
No, I know. So you're not crowdfunding them at this point?
No. Just doing the old-fashioned begging.
Begging is good. Begging is good.
No, we did crowdfunding for Bunker, and it had a very successful campaign from some very generous people. But for California No, we just went straight to investors in the traditional way.
Well, I'm curious to see how this plays out. I actually met somebody at LA Film Festival over the weekend that I will have to pass their information along to you.
Oh yeah.
Because they are a financier. That's what they do.
Well, you don't have to give me that information on the radio.
No, I'm not good. Oh my God. Oh my God. And now you are all finding out why I adore Ned and why we work together on things, and because nothing is ever serious.
No, God, why would it be?
No. So what else are you doing to fill in your time? Anything?
Well, yeah, I'm also working for a living.
Yeah, and can you tell people who it is you're writing for now?
Yeah, I'm now covering the entertainment world for CBSNews.com.
Good. Now Brian's nodding his head. He was waiting for me to get this out of you. You know.
Well, it's not a secret.
Well, no, but you should, promote yourself.
Sure. Well, I don't know if CBS needs my help.
Well, no, but you writing for them needs your help.
Yes. I know. I'm just, I'm enjoying the larger audience and the bigger organization and covering movies which is my first passion.
Are they letting you pick the movies you want to cover or assigning them?
No, pretty much I've been sort of fielding requests myself.
Oh, okay. Well, that works. So now, because I know,
Talking to all my favorite publicists.
yes, our mutually favorite publicists. Um, but now I know you're chained to a desk, which is why you're not here in the studio today.
I know. I wish I could be, but,
Because with responsible jobs, writing for something like CBS News Online, means you got to sit at a desk and actually work.
yeah, I actually just before I just finished an article about John Oliver right before I called you.
Anything new and exciting with John Oliver?
Oh yeah, you didn't. Did you hear about what he did last night on his show?
No, I did not.
He was doing a special about a segment on the debt buying industry and its lack of regulation. And to prove a point, he and his producers started their own debt buying company for $50 and spent $60,000 to buy almost $15 million worth of medical debt and just forgave it all on the air.
Oh my God.
Which is a bit of that's a big stunt.
Well, that's a big stunt, but it really does expose a part of the collection industry out there that even the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act doesn't really, people don't think about applying it to that. And it is all of these debt collectors, and that's what they do. They buy it on the cheap, then they try and go after you. And every once in a while, you get somebody that will forgive the debt.
Unfortunately, it can't always be John Oliver.
No. Most companies, they will keep going after people from a collection standpoint after they buy debt, and then they resell it, and which is where the public needs to become aware of the statute of limitations, because then it's automatically forgiven when nobody can collect it anymore.
No, they don't want people to know about that part.
No. Oh my God, I wish I had seen that. Oh my God, that is so cool.
It's on YouTube. You can watch the segment. But yeah, he said that was 9,000 people's debt that he just forgave.
For $15 million?
Yeah.
Well, if it's medical debt, I can believe it.
Yeah, because that stuff racks up and does not go away.
Oh my God. Oh, now I'm going to have to read your article.
Wow, it should be online any minute now.
Well, I'm on the radio. I'm not online reading, Ned.
Oh, you busy?
A little bit, not much. Running on no sleep with LA Film Festival. I'm sure you're missing not covering it.
Yeah.
No, sure. Actually, there actually are some very good films I've seen. There are also some really bad ones I've seen. But the ones that are good are really good.
I'm looking forward to catching up on some stuff once I get a breather.
Yeah. And, of course, yesterday was the Elias Future Filmmaker grants being awarded.
Yes.
So, and some of the same, we had repeat filmmakers from last year. Future filmmakers were back with more films.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I always love to see what the kids are coming up with. I say, sounding like an old person.
To see what you would really appreciate a lot of what these kids are coming up with. There was one young girl, this was her very first film, and she did claymation.
Oh, wow.
Whole thing in claymation. And she actually, she won, I think she won the $500 Elias Future Filmmaker grant for animation and or experimental film.
Awesome.
So that was really, really sweet. Somebody who did not
I tried claymation once for when I was about 12 or 13, and I think I got about 30 seconds into it before I gave up.
And she had 1 week to get this film done.
Wow.
It was a class project in her film class, and she had 1 week to get it done. So I mean, it is just absolutely charming. It's adorable. It's colorful. Yeah, I really like that one. And then, of course, one of my favorite future filmmakers, Natalie Ferrara. Natalie had a film last year, and we became friends, and I've stayed in contact with her. And, right after last year's festival, she finished up her next film, Daggers and Daguerreotypes. And she had me look at it, and I said, oh, my God, I absolutely love it. You have to submit this next year. You got to submit it to other festivals. And she did, and it made it into this year's LAFF. So that was fun
Awesome.
to see her film. And then
Good title.
Isn't it? And it's period, all shot period, Victorian, with costumes, set, the whole thing.
Ooh.
So, and incredible makeup jobs. And of course, then Katie Spear, who last year won with her short Mask, this year she came back with Astronaut that had original music in it that was written by a friend of hers, and it was a music video that is some of the greatest imagery you could ever hope to see.
Awesome.
Done with geometric shaping. So
where can I see these?
Actually, I think Katie's going to give me the link. I can send you the information for all of Natalia's work. Yeah, but some of the stuff I was really impressed. But then again, a few others I had to sit there and say, "Huh." So, and I'm just very blunt and to the point about it.
Yes, you do not pull any punches.
No. Well, I understand that my next guest, writer-director Michael Wechsler, is on the line to come on. So before you say goodbye, tell us again when people can tune into Bunker.
Bunker goes live on DirecTV's Shorts HD channel on this Saturday, June 11th. And from then on, it should be just available to watch and enjoy, and hopefully enjoy whenever you like.
Trust me, people will enjoy it. If the only part they enjoy, it's Jack the dog, they'll enjoy it.
He's a solid canine actor. I'll give him
yes, he is. All right, I will see you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
And that was writer-director Ned Ehrbar, Bunker, this Saturday, DirecTV. And now, the fabulous Michael Wechsler. Hello, Michael.
Hi, how are you, Debbie?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. How are things there on the West Coast?
Well, in the midst of LA Film Festival, right? I'm in the midst of LA Film Festival, but running concurrently is also Dances with Films down in Hollywood.
Oh, I have a friend who just showed she showed a music video there like 2 days ago.
Oh.
They're screening at the Man's Chinese Theater, right?
At the Chinese Complex, yeah, at the Man 6 upstairs. Yeah.
That's a great theater to screen at. I've heard good things about that festival, for sure.
It's now in its 19th year. When it first started out, for many years, it was not what it is now. Let's put it that way.
Sure.
But Leslie Scallon hung in there with it. And it has turned into a very nice little festival. I've seen a couple of the films. As a matter of fact, the writer-director who's going to come on after you today at 11:45, Desmond Devenish, he has his first narrative feature film debuting on the 10th over at Dances with Films, Misfortune.
Oh, it's very exciting.
It's a thriller. It's a cat and mouse kind of film with diamonds in a desert involved. Last week Kevin Good was on talking about his film Dinner with an Alchemist that premiered over the weekend at Dances with Films, a period piece. But we're here to talk about the very fabulous and wonderful Altered Minds.
Which is no longer on the festival circuit.
That's right. And why is it not on the festival circuit, Michael?
Because I ran out of money. No, it's not on the festival circuit because the festival circuit ended for us in late 2014, and Altered Minds came out in theaters November 2015, and is now is migrating from, well, it's still on VOD, but it's actually also now about to have its DVD premiere release tomorrow.
Yay!
So, unending carousel of different venues and platforms. There's no one stop all kind of fits all distribution platform now. Now you kind of go from this one to that one to the next one, it's interesting, but I think this is going to be the as far as I know, I think this is going to be the last format in which we're going to be doing any kind of promotion.
Mm-hmm.
I think after this, after the DVD release, if anybody wants to interview me, I'll be more than happy to show up for the occasion. But it's more like the film is going to really be out there, and it's going to have to survive without my TLC that I've been giving it every day.
You have given this film so much TLC, Michael.
Yes, my children hopefully won't be scarred by that.
Well, no, they'll just have to work harder, to get the same kind of TLC.
Exactly.
It's a learning experience for them.
Exactly.
Trust me, I know. That's what my father would tell me all the time growing up.
Well, I think I spoke to you about this probably the last time we had a conversation, and so much. If you're a filmmaker with a family and young kids like I am, for me, I am. Film has always been my first love, but family is now my first love, and my kids and my wife come first. And so what has always been kind of never a struggle. It was always sort of like, I'm going to figure this out from the get-go. How do I be the filmmaker, pursue the dream, get it done, and not make it so that it becomes something of a it'll always be an extra child in the family, but not something that's going to be taking all the attention or any too much attention away from what's the real flesh and blood people in my life. And so what I did is my oldest, when the film was shot, he was only 5 at the time, and he wanted a part, so I gave him a little part. And to this day, he's so excited, even though he can't watch the movie yet because he's not quite old enough.
Right.
He's still excited to tell people that his resume includes an acting debut in a feature film. and the other things I did is obviously whenever I could and whenever we could make it work, I would take my wife to some of the film festivals, and she would actually be out there on the floor helping me, promote the film. So it's always been one of those things where I really wanted to make a point of making sure that the film didn't overshadow my personal life, but that somehow I could mesh it into my personal life.
Well, and with
not always an easy thing to do, but it can be done.
And with Altered Minds, this is all about a family.
Yes, which means I have to be and a family that has some really deep-seated issues.
Yes.
Not having to do with a filmmaker who neglected his family.
No, but so for those that haven't listened before when you've been on the show and we've talked about the film, since it's coming on DVD tomorrow, why don't you fill everybody in on what Altered Minds is about so that we can get them to go out and buy the DVD?
Sure. So Altered Minds, it's a psychodrama, psychological drama. Psychodrama actually makes it sound like it's psychotic.
Well, actually, part of it could be deemed.
Yes, part of it, sure. And it's about a family that is an older family that is getting together, reuniting in a sense to, celebrate the what is going to be the final birthday of their patriarch, played by Judd Hirsch. And one of the members of the family takes the entire clan hostage. And accuses the father, who is a renowned psychiatrist who used to work for the United States government and for the CIA. He accuses the father of having adopted the children, all of these kids, who are no longer kids, they're adults now, as part of a mind control project, like a Manchurian Candidate program. And at first this family, his brothers, his sisters, his mother, all think that our protagonist, who's making these accusations, is just flipped his lid, and the audience probably thinks that as well, and maybe just suffering from some really deep-seated scars that he had prior to being adopted by this father. But then over the course of the story, certain things start happening, certain memory recall happens parts of other siblings in the family, and we really start to wonder, as do the family members, whether or not the father is potentially guilty of these things the son has been accusing him of. And so it's really a kind of a mystery of whodunit. Is the father guilty of being this evil, mad scientist, or is the son suffering from something completely unrelated and transferring that trauma into and projecting it into his father? So it's really a mystery trying to figure out what the heck's going on. It takes place in one evening, which is the coldest winter on record in the Northeast. So everybody's kind of like stuck in this house. And even though you're stuck in the house for most of the film, the movie does go beyond the doors, figuratively and literally, of the house in exploring this mystery and trying to figure out what really may have taken place.
And
so that's, I call it one night and one very dysfunctional family, and really probably a night that they'll never forget. If you imagine like a family get-together where everything really didn't just kind of combust, but imploded to the 10th power, that's what this film is like.
And that's why I avoid my family at all costs. But but then you also had the fun job when people watch this, and people from the Philadelphia area may even recognize the location here. Right.
Dr. J's home. We shot at I guess it was Dr. J in the early 70s. He used to own this beautiful mansion, which is near Conshohocken, Villanova.
Yep.
And we didn't know when we chose the location. We had no idea that this house had any interesting history until the mailman delivered the mail, and just thought we'd find it very interesting, which of course we did, that Dr. J used to live there. Now, I was not a 76ers fan. I'm a New York Knickerbocker fan, but still, I knew Dr. J was, and certainly after hearing that, I really understood why many of the rooms had incredibly vaulted ceilings, and why the basement, which was unfinished, had a disco ball hanging above an above ground jacuzzi, which was octagonally shaped. It was very bizarre. It was like, everybody's looking. We were all kind of wondering who lived here. Why did they have a disco ball above a jacuzzi in an unfinished basement? And once we heard Dr. J, we said, oh yeah. So there must have been some interesting things going on in this house at one point. But it bore no impact on our storytelling. It was just a cute little, fun little sidebar trip.
Well, now, let me ask you, did you do any fun commentary as DVD extras?
Yes. Well, so here's the interesting thing. So before we made the deal with E1 for the home video DVD rights, the film came out on VOD on iTunes and a bunch of other cable VOD and internet VOD platforms. And Apple has an extra sort of sidebar feature, which is basically the same thing. They call it extras.
Okay.
So if you go on iTunes now, and if a film has those extras, you can spend like $1 or $2 more and get those. It's basically the same thing, more or less, that you get when you buy a DVD or Blu-ray special features. So I already prepared something for the iTunes release, but I basically gave them the whole kit and caboodle of everything that I had, from all of the deleted scenes, which were many because we cut out 2 main characters in the story after finishing the film once, and I wanted people to see those deleted scenes and see those characters, because I think it's fascinating. It wasn't just like a few deleted scenes, little things here and there that you may typically get with a movie. It was like, about 25 minutes of footage. So I knew they were going to put that in, but then I did video logs, every single day in the making of the film, from our very first cast reading through finding the location, through pre-production, through production, every day of shooting, through the finishing with my editor, through post-production, and through all the festivals. I did a tremendous amount of documentation, really, because my first film, which I made in 1999, we didn't have camera phones, and I didn't I only took pictures, and I didn't have that kind of documentation. And I always said, if I do this again, I really want to have that, for my own self, but also because I think it would be helpful and interesting for aspiring filmmakers or just people who love to see that kind of stuff, the extras that are on part, that all films have. So I gave the same exact material that I gave to iTunes to our home video distributor, and I have no editorial say as to what they included and what they didn't. So when I got the DVDs for the first time a week ago, I had no idea what they were going to put on. So they did put on all the deleted scenes. They did put on 2 audio commentary tracks.
Mm-hmm.
My composer, Edmund Choi, and I we did 2 different passes. One was more focused on the anecdotal aspects of making the film. The other was more on the creative aspects of making the film from my perspective and also from the composer's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And Ed is a longtime collaborator of mine, so we had a real fun time doing that. What they also put on my introduction to the vlogs, and those introductions were me basically talking, off the cuff onto my camera phone, going, "What you're about to see." However, they didn't put on the vlog.
Oh God.
So if anybody watches DVD out there who gets a DVD, and hopefully you will after listening to this podcast, I hope you understand when you just see me and you don't see the vlogs, that was an omission by accident. However, I am going to make available those vlogs on our website in probably in a few weeks, as well as a whole host of other extras, so that everybody who was, maybe want to go on and see more behind the scenes will be able to do that. Because those, I think, were really fascinating. I mean, those were like me running around the set and sticking my nose in when my production designer would be making icicles, because we couldn't afford real snow, and we couldn't afford to make real, icicles, so we made silicone molds. I spent like 20 minutes with him explaining the processes. So much stuff that, I think is fascinating and sheds light on the how-to of filmmaking.
Well, on that lovely how-to note, my friend, I must bid you adieu and now talk to another filmmaker about his film that has yet to be seen by anyone.
Oh, my goodness. Awesome.
So, but for everybody else, Altered Minds tomorrow on DVD. Get it, buy it, you will love it.
Can I also throw in that it's also still on VOD and will be on VOD in perpetuity. So if you don't buy DVDs, go check it out on iTunes or Amazon or Vudu or Google Plus, Google Play. They're all still, it's all doable in that way as well.
Wonderful. Michael, thank you so much.
Pleasure, Debbie.
I'll talk to you.
I look forward to speak with you again very soon.
We will. Bye-bye.
Bye. Take care.
And that was writer-director Michael Wechsler talking about Altered Minds. And now, a big behind-the-lens welcome to Desmond Devenish. Hello.
Hey, Debbie. How's it going?
It's fine, Desmond. How's it going with you?
Good. Got the mad rush last week before the screening, but I'm excited. It's just, I tell you, the energy at Dance of the Films is electric. It's just a wonderful festival. I'm so excited to be a part of it.
Well, this is your first feature.
Yes.
Something I find interesting about you is that in the films that you have done thus far, you're the writer, the director, and you act in them.
True.
Yeah, and I have to say, Misfortune, this is the first of your films I've seen. I haven't seen your shorts. This is, number one, it's absolutely gorgeous. Your cinematographer, Seth Johnson.
Seth Johnson, yeah, he killed it. He just phenomenal job.
Shooting in the desert, absolutely gorgeous. You've got texture, you've got light, but your night shoots, they're killer.
Thank you, Alexa, for that. I mean, that camera has just an amazing latitude in low light situations.
Now, what kind of lenses did you use?
We used some Cooks. Yeah.
Good old Cook.
Yeah.
Did you go with the prime?
Yeah. So, not with the Cooks. I think we. Which Cooks do we use? I don't think we use primes on those though. Not sure. No, they were not the primes though. They were the other ones. Well,
Cook lenses, no matter which ones you got, are just excellent.
Yeah, no, they did the trick.
And and they do a really nice job when they are paired with the Alexa.
They do. No, it was definitely the best way to go, and I feel like I'd seen some films that did the same thing with Alexa situations, and I just knew that was our best option.
So now tell everybody about the Genesis Misfortune. This hearing the title, and looking at the poster, a lot of different things can come to mind, but the poster of which, by the way, I love.
Yeah, we got that done in New York by Cardinal Communications. They're fantastic. They do all the Woody Allen stuff, and they actually did Whiplash too. They're just a great outfit.
Absolutely gorgeous. But no, so what is Misfortune about, as you would describe it, and where did this idea come from that you and your co-writer Xander Bailey came up with?
Yes.
Did you go out and steal diamonds at some time and not tell anyone?
No, but I've had things stolen from me, so I think that was kind of, analogized somehow. But the the baseline idea behind the story is it's an ex-convict who gets out of prison and hunts down his ex-partner in crime's son for these missing stolen diamonds, and he might catch up with the son, which could lead to the diamonds. That's what led him to prison in the first place.
And it is an extreme cat and mouse chase that Boyd, which is you.
Yep.
You get your girlfriend involved.
Yep, everyone gets involved.
And your best friend, Boyd's best friend Russell, is played by Xander.
Correct. Yeah, and Xander and I, we've been childhood buddies. I've known him since grade school in New York, and just always had an affinity for films. And it's interesting because we both came out to L.A. I actually came out sort of around the same time, but we didn't kind of rekindle our friendship till like about a few years into it. And then we just thought, all right, let's get back into this. And we both had acting backgrounds. I'd done work in New York. I'd been on Broadway. I'd done some independent films, and he had also done some work, commercial work. And his father was a big soap actor. And so anyway, when we came out here, we decided, all right, let's get back into writing. And then we had one idea, which is a script previous to Misfortune, which we had almost gotten in the pipeline, and we're 2 weeks out from shooting to the point of location scouting when all of our financing fell through and actually were involved in a giant scam. So that was the genesis, I think, of Misfortune, just because I had encountered this huge situation where all these filmmakers and producers and writers were scammed, and it was just like, wow, like just the rug pulled out from underneath.
Wow. So now, so when you and Xander sit down and you start writing this, did you know already that you would be directing this?
Yeah, I think I had an idea that I would, and he'd done a couple of short films that he'd acted in Arizona and Tucson, and it's just an amazing community for film. And I knew I had wanted to do something that involved some sort of betrayal and something with money, because I'd encountered that a lot, and I think the texture, I wanted something just where the narrative would feel like it would be like a moment to moment thing. And certainly be fast paced, and we thought about the desert, and the desert was like perfect setting for that. And I'd been very inspired from a lot of the Western films I'd seen, and it just felt like a perfect landscape for this because it's just like very desolate, and it had that really gritty texture, which I love to see in films too.
Mm-hmm. Now, were you visualizing this as you were writing it, so that once you were stepping into the director's chair, you already had some sort of idea of the look you were going for?
Definitely. I mean, I think films that I'd seen before, like No Country for Old Men or A Simple Plan, which certainly have similar feels to the genre. I knew I wanted like Saguaro Cactuses, like that was definite. But I don't know. I like edgy films, and I mean I like all types of films, but I think that certainly played a major part into the look and feel of it. And obviously I sat down with Seth and we had to figure out exactly what what would be best for the film too. But yeah, it kind of mapped it right. It wrote itself out as we went along.
Mm-hmm. So now, as you're directing, how do you go about directing? You get your director's hat, your actor's hat. So how good does actor Desmond take direction from director Desmond?
Well, I mean that's an interesting question, because I think sometimes there's definitely a sacrifice especially when you're on a limited constraints with with an indie budget, and I think that's where you have to really rely a lot on your DP to get the shots framed up, and it's tough because sometimes you're not going to be able to spend as much time behind the camera because you're busy trying to really get into character mode, and vice versa also. So I think there were a couple times I actually had to reach over to Xander and pull him aside and ask him, okay, hey, do you think this is good for this, for the character? Because it's tricky. So that there's definitely sacrifice either way. But I love acting, and I love directing, and for totally different reasons. But it's definitely it's a lot of work, especially when I produced this film too.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I had a lot of help from other people that stepped up and took those roles with me to produce the film. But it's a lot. But I think at this level, you kind of really don't have a choice, because you're kind of on a limited budget, and you've got to wear a lot of hats.
Mm-hmm. Well, one place you did not sacrifice on with Misfortune is your scoring, is your music. Talk to me about Calvin Marcus and what he did for you, because
Calvin's brilliant. I gotta say something. Calvin is going to blow up. I met Calvin at a New Year's Eve party at like midnight. I was introduced to him, and I was like desperately looking for someone to do my music, because music is so important for me. It's the spine of the film. It in many ways it's just like it's the heartbeat. I mean, and nowadays where I feel like music and sound is almost merged together. It's like because the music nowadays is becoming so texturized that it's almost one and the same with the soundscape. So I told him I wanted something like this, and he and I sat down over the course of about 2.5 months in cafes and bars with a splitter and 2 headphones, running off of Logic, and created this score. I mean, it was one of these things that I mean, I guess any process happens in piecemeal, but he and I worked it out. We both had some ideas we wanted to do, and he just he did a phenomenal job, and I have to say that he is definitely he's one to look out for. I'm sure of that.
Well, and of course it's important to note here that the score is it's very necessary in this film, because you do have a lot of quiet time where the characters is much more contemplative and pensive, and anticipatory of what's coming around the corner, what might happen next. So the score really helps.
Well, that's one thing I heavily stressed to him, is the fact that I think music and film is just as important regarding the absence of music. The audience is I think nowadays we have such a sophisticated audience. You can't be so heavy-handed on music cues and too informative of what the audience should feel, because obviously music is that's the first place that people are going to look to emotionally for guidance of what a movie is about. And if you're too over the head about it and have too heavy music cues, and I don't know, I think that the audience feels duped, and I think there's so much to be said in having subtlety and having sort of absence and pausing and really putting your music in really specific moments, even if it's just one small cue. And I'm seeing that a lot more in films today too.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're right. All those contemplative moments and meditative pauses were really huge. as far as like having to time that out. And I think that's one of our biggest challenges with music, was making it so carefully orchestrated where the music would not be there to complement the film, but to be there in its own kind of living form, and seeing how it can kind of be like a companion piece to the picture. Because that's, I think, when it comes down to it, that's what music is in films. And I really have such a high regard for music and sound, where I feel like sound a lot of times just kind of gets kicked to the curb. Not necessarily kicked to the curb, but like it becomes secondary, because there's so much of an emphasis placed on cinematography, which is gorgeous and so important, because that's the eye of your film. But music is like the soul, and I think that was really important for us with the score, like having music that wasn't dominant but also wasn't like secondary. It was almost like it was like a marriage.
And speaking of music, Brian just gave us the cue that we are out of time today, Des.
Well, that was wonderful chatting with you.
Absolutely
Debbie.
Wonderful. Misfortune at Dances with Films, June 10th at 9:30.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Des.
All right, Debbie. Chat later.
Bye-bye. And that's it for this week. Until next week.